So Jim Jones is back with a new album. You know what I'm saying? Not gonna call it a mixtape. I'm gonna call it an album, and it's dope. I ain't heard Jim Jones this good in a minute. I think the last project that I honestly liked from him was a mixtape. Was it Vamp Life or something like that? Like the first volume or the second volume? Either way, you know what I mean. He got a couple features on here. He got Trav, Neek Bucks, King Jig, Filthy Rich, shout out to East Oakland, Bridget Kelly Davies, Fred the Godson, Loring Chia, I think that's how you say it, ASAP Ferg, Sin City, Corey Guns, Kevin Gates. Yeah, man, and it's just basically about the streets, past drug dealing days, if that's what you want to call it. Opens up with an intro, just basically a lot of excerpts about drugs, a couple movie clips. Pretty interesting. Then it gets into the second track, Married to the Game, featuring Trav, Neek Bucks, King Jig, basically about the street life, Married to the Game, basically the ins and outs of being in the streets and things that go on in the streets. And that was a solid record, solid production. Then it gets into track three, which is Cocaine, featuring Filthy Rich. Definitely enjoyed that sample, the production. Basically about selling drugs and everything like that. Y'all know how that shit go. Lyrics was decent. Filthy came through with a solid verse. Definitely wish he would have been on more of the album. Gets into track four and it switches up. Nice jazzy beat entitled The Kitchen, featuring Bridget Kelly. Basically Jim Jones reminiscing on this track. I definitely like this. It's one of my favorites off this project, and yeah, it definitely stood out. And like, damn, what happened to Bridget Kelly? She was popping for a minute and then she just went away. But moving on to track five, East Side featuring Dave East. Y'all already know how Dave East give it up. Production was hard, great hook, street vibe. Dave East to me outshined Jim Jones on this record, so it ain't no surprise there. But Jim did his thing, but Dave East killed that shit. Moving on to the middle of the album, Two Keys featuring Fred the Godson, track six. I thought it was okay. I didn't really like the hook and the production. The verses was good. Fred the Godson, better verse, of course. Definitely like his flow. His metaphors and bars was crazy. But I just felt like it was something lacking. Probably the production and, the hook, like I said. Moving on to track seven, Whole Lot Better featuring Trav. Another record where it was like, it's all right, you know what I mean? Just basically talking about drugs and a metaphor from what I understood about it, but it could be about anything. But from my understanding of running it back twice, seems like they're talking about drugs. Moving on to track eight, Addicted to the Game, featuring Loring Chia, slow pace type beat, reminiscing again, past days. Definitely enjoyed the hook, kind of soulful, and just let you know why they was doing what they was doing back in the day in the streets in Harlem, running around, drop off and picks up, things of that nature. And that was a solid track. Moving on to track nine, Harlem featuring ASAP Ferg, hard as fuck. This beat was made for ASAP Ferg. He definitely killed this shit, and definitely has a nice Menace to Society clip at the end of it. Jim Jones did what he could, but this shit was ASAP Ferg all the way. Getting into track 10, Blow It Up, featuring Sin City, King Jig, Neek Bucks. It was alright, you know what I mean? Wasn't nothing too special. Thought it was okay. It was fair. Moving on to track 11, Jungle, featuring Sin City, Corey Guns. Corey Guns took this shit. He took this beat, destroyed it. The production seemed kind of different. Like a sample was in there, but I couldn't tell what beat it originated from, but definitely still a solid record. I definitely fuck with it. You should understand what the jungle mean. If you don't, that's on you. Going into track 12, They All Say featuring Trav, jazzy beat, Jim venting again, reminiscing. Definitely enjoyed the flow. Definitely enjoyed the hook. Glad he didn't put Trav on here for a verse. He just let him do the hook. I thought that was pretty good. And he did his thing on that, man. I got to give it up to Trav. That was probably one of the better hooks on this album. Get into track 13, Situations, featuring Kevin Gates and Neek Bucks. It's a smooth song, nothing bad about it. They flipped the Mini Men beat, and that was even crazy. I was like, wow. Like, they took it, flipped it, and slowed it down. Definitely enjoyed that record. And the last track is Live Fast, Die Young, featuring Trav. Just Jim talking that Harlem shit, reminiscing, him and his homies back in the day, what they was doing, and just giving you the ins and outs of the streets. And throughout the whole project, it kind of feel like a movie, because if you listen closely, it's like steps to doing certain things while you in the streets from the intro track all the way to track 14. But overall, man, this was a solid body of work. Definitely enjoyed it. I like 11 out of the 14 records. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Production 7.5 out of 10. Jim Jones definitely surprised me with this one, and I was listening to it last week when it had dropped. Like I got to like 5 tracks, and then I had stopped listening to it. But I was like, God damn, this shit hard as fuck. Like, when did Jim Jones get this goddamn inspired to want to get back into the music and deliver something like this? So I was like, wow, you know what I mean? But I stopped listening to it, and you know, yeah, I just dipped off and wasn't really paying attention to it no more. And then I picked it, back up and like, let me just finish this album. You dig? And so I finished it, and man, it's a great body of work. Glad to see Jim Jones doing his thing again. Of course, we all know we don't see no features from nobody from Dipset, from Cam to Joel's, even Freaky Zeke. None of that. But at the end of the day, we understand that situation. But Jim Jones definitely delivered a good body of work. Definitely, y'all need to support this if you into supporting music. I'm definitely gonna cop this off iTunes. And yeah, man, shout out to Jim Jones for delivering a good body of work. And let's just see if him and Cam can kind of fix their situation. And we probably can get Diplomatic Immunity 3. I'm still hoping for that. But other than that, yeah, man, Jim Jones got a solid one. All right, y'all, I'm out of here. One.